Being an active listener is one of the most important aspects of improving your conversation skills. Many people focus too much on what they will say next rather than truly listening to the person speaking. Active listening is more than just hearing words. It involves fully engaging with the speaker, understanding their message, and responding thoughtfully. One way to become a better listener is to give the speaker your full attention. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Our phones, our thoughts, and even the environment around us can pull us away from the conversation. To actively listen, make a conscious effort to put aside distractions and focus entirely on the speaker. Maintain eye contact to show that you are engaged. Nodding occasionally or using small verbal affirmations such as "I see" or "that makes sense" can also signal that you are following along. Another key aspect of active listening is avoiding the urge to interrupt. Many people listen with the intent to reply rather than understand. When you interrupt, you not only disrupt the speaker's train of thought, but also make them feel unheard. Instead, wait for a natural pause before responding and make sure your response is relevant to what was just said. Paraphrasing or summarizing their point before giving your own input can also help show that you were truly listening. Asking thoughtful questions is another way to demonstrate active listening. Instead of simply nodding along, engage with the speaker by asking follow-up questions that encourage them to elaborate. For example, if someone is talking about a trip they recently took, instead of just saying, "That sounds nice," you can ask, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or "What surprised you the most about that place?" This shows genuine interest and helps keep the conversation flowing. Body language also plays a crucial role in active listening. Your posture, facial expressions, and gestures can communicate whether you are engaged or not. Leaning slightly forward, maintaining an open posture, and smiling at appropriate moments can make the speaker feel more comfortable and valued. Conversely, crossing your arms, looking away frequently, or appearing distracted can make the other person feel like you are not truly listening. Practicing empathy is another essential part of active listening. Try to understand not just the words being spoken, but also the emotions behind them. Sometimes people are looking for more than just a response. They want to feel understood. If someone is expressing frustration or excitement, acknowledge their feelings by saying something like, "That sounds really frustrating," or "That must have been so exciting for you." Validating their emotions helps build a deeper connection and makes conversations more meaningful. Being an active listener takes practice, but the benefits are well worth the effort. It strengthens relationships, reduces misunderstandings, and makes you a more engaging and respected conversationalist. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, take a step back and focus on truly listening. You may be surprised at how much more enjoyable and meaningful your interactions become. Asking open-ended questions is a powerful way to improve your conversation skills and make interactions more engaging. Unlike closed-ended questions, which often lead to short, one-word answers, open-ended questions encourage the other person to share more details, thoughts, and emotions. This not only keeps the conversation flowing, but also helps build deeper connections with others. One of the key benefits of asking open-ended questions is that they allow people to express themselves more freely. When you ask someone a question that requires more than a simple yes or no response, you give them the opportunity to elaborate, share their experiences, and provide insights that might not have come up otherwise. For example, instead of asking, "Did you enjoy your trip?" you could ask, "What was the most memorable part of your trip?" This invites the person to share a meaningful story rather than just confirming or denying whether they had a good time. Open-ended questions also help demonstrate genuine interest in the other person. When you ask thoughtful questions, it shows that you care about their opinions and experiences. This makes people feel valued and heard, which is essential for building strong relationships. A great way to do this is by tailoring your questions based on what the person is talking about. If someone mentions that they recently started a new job, instead of asking, "Do you like your new job?" try asking, "What's the most exciting part of your new job so far?" This type of question encourages them to reflect on their experience and share something meaningful with you. Another advantage of asking open-ended questions is that they keep the conversation interesting and dynamic. When conversations are filled with simple yes or no answers, they tend to feel stagnant and unengaging. However, when you ask questions that invite storytelling and deeper discussion, the conversation naturally becomes more lively. This is especially helpful in social situations where you are meeting new people or trying to make a good impression. For example, at a networking event, instead of asking, "Do you like your work?" you could ask, "What inspired you to get into your field?" This type of question gives the other person a chance to share their passions and motivations, making for a more memorable and meaningful exchange. Asking open-ended questions is also an excellent way to learn more about people's perspectives and experiences. It allows you to see the world from their point of view and gain insights that you might not have considered before. This is particularly valuable in discussions about personal interests, beliefs, or experiences. If someone is talking about a book they recently read, instead of asking, "Was it a good book?" you could ask, "What did you find most interesting about that book?" This encourages them to think critically and share something unique about their reading experience. In addition, open-ended questions can be useful in resolving conflicts or clarifying misunderstandings. When people feel heard and understood, they are more likely to engage in meaningful dialogue rather than becoming defensive or withdrawn. For instance, if a disagreement arises, instead of asking, "Are you upset?" try asking, "How do you feel about what happened?" This allows the other person to express their emotions and thoughts in a way that promotes understanding and resolution. Practicing the art of asking open-ended questions can transform the way you interact with others. It makes conversations more engaging, strengthens relationships, and helps you connect with people on a deeper level. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, try to be mindful of the questions you ask. With a little practice, you'll notice how much more natural and enjoyable your interactions become. Showing genuine interest in a conversation is one of the most important ways to connect with others, make them feel valued, and create meaningful interactions. When people feel that someone is truly interested in what they have to say, they are more likely to open up, share their thoughts, and enjoy the conversation. Genuine interest is not something that can be faked easily. People can usually tell when someone is just going through the motions versus when they are sincerely engaged. That is why developing the habit of truly caring about what others are saying is essential for improving your conversation skills. One of the simplest ways to show genuine interest is by actively engaging with the topic at hand. When someone is speaking, it's important to listen attentively rather than thinking about what you will say next. Many people make the mistake of waiting for their turn to speak instead of fully processing what the other person is saying. Instead, take the time to absorb their words, process their emotions, and respond thoughtfully. Nodding occasionally, making appropriate facial expressions, and reacting naturally to what is being said can help show that you are present in the conversation. Another way to show genuine interest is by asking follow-up questions. When someone shares something about their life experiences or opinions, asking a relevant question shows that you are engaged and eager to learn more. Instead of just acknowledging their statement with a simple response like, "That's cool," or "Oh, nice," dig a little deeper by asking something that encourages them to elaborate. For example, if someone talks about a recent vacation, instead of just saying, "That sounds fun," you could ask, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or "What made you choose that destination?" These types of questions not only keep the conversation flowing, but also show that you truly care about their experience. Genuine interest also involves empathy. It's important to put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to understand their emotions and perspectives. When someone is excited about something, share in their excitement. When they are discussing a challenge or difficult situation, show empathy by acknowledging their feelings and offering supportive responses. Saying things like, "That must have been an amazing experience for you," or "I can see why that was difficult," can make the person feel understood and appreciated. This kind of emotional connection can turn an ordinary conversation into a meaningful exchange. Body language plays a crucial role in demonstrating genuine interest. Nonverbal cues such as maintaining eye contact, leaning slightly forward, and keeping an open posture indicate that you are engaged in the conversation. Avoid distractions like looking at your phone, glancing around the room, or appearing disengaged, as these behaviors can make the other person feel like you are not truly interested in what they are saying. Small gestures, such as mirroring the other person's expressions or nodding in agreement, can also help create a sense of connection. Another important aspect of showing genuine interest is remembering details from past conversations. When you bring up something that someone mentioned in a previous discussion, it shows that you truly listened and valued what they shared. For example, if a colleague mentioned they were nervous about a big presentation last week, following up by asking, "How did your presentation go?" shows that you paid attention and care about their experiences. This small act can strengthen relationships and make people feel important. Additionally, being enthusiastic and engaged in the conversation helps make the interaction more enjoyable for both parties. People naturally respond positively to those who show energy and passion when speaking. If someone is sharing something they are excited about, match their enthusiasm by responding with genuine curiosity and interest. Saying things like, "Wow, that sounds amazing," or "I'd love to hear more about that," encourages them to keep sharing and creates a more dynamic and engaging conversation. Lastly, showing genuine interest means being fully present in the moment. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get distracted by our thoughts, responsibilities, or electronic devices. However, making a conscious effort to be present and focused on the person you are speaking with can make a significant difference. Being present means not only listening to the words being spoken, but also paying attention to tone, expressions, and emotions. It allows for deeper connections and more meaningful conversations. By consistently practicing these habits, you can build stronger relationships, improve your communication skills, and make your interactions more fulfilling. When you show genuine interest in others, you create an environment where people feel heard, valued, and appreciated, which leads to more meaningful and enjoyable conversations. Being mindful of body language is a crucial aspect of effective communication and improving conversation skills. While words are important, a significant portion of communication is nonverbal. Our facial expressions, posture, gestures, and eye contact all convey messages that can either enhance or hinder a conversation. Often people are not fully aware of how much their body language influences the way they are perceived. Learning to be mindful of these nonverbal cues can help create a more engaging, open, and positive interaction with others. One of the first things to consider when it comes to body language is eye contact. Maintaining appropriate eye contact signals attentiveness and interest in the conversation. When you look someone in the eyes while they speak, it shows that you are fully engaged and actively listening. However, there is a balance to maintain. Staring too intensely can make the other person uncomfortable, while avoiding eye contact can give the impression of disinterest or insecurity. A good rule of thumb is to hold eye contact for a few seconds at a time before naturally looking away and then returning your gaze. This creates a comfortable rhythm and makes the conversation feel more natural. Facial expressions also play a vital role in effective communication. A warm and friendly expression can make the other person feel more comfortable and encourage them to open up. Smiling at appropriate moments helps to establish a positive connection, while nodding occasionally signals that you are following along and understanding what is being said. On the other hand, frowning, furrowing your brows, or looking uninterested can create a barrier between you and the speaker. Being aware of how your facial expressions align with your words and emotions can make your interactions more genuine and effective. Posture is another critical element of body language that can impact the flow of a conversation. An open and relaxed posture makes you appear approachable and engaged. Sitting or standing with your shoulders relaxed, facing the person directly and avoiding crossing your arms creates an inviting atmosphere. When your posture is open, it signals that you are receptive and willing to engage in the conversation. In contrast, slouching, turning away, or crossing your arms can indicate disinterest, discomfort, or even defensiveness. These small adjustments in posture can make a significant difference in how you are perceived during a conversation. Gestures can also enhance communication by emphasizing key points and making your speech more dynamic. Using hand movements naturally while speaking can help convey enthusiasm and confidence. However, excessive or overly animated gestures can be distracting, so it is essential to use them in moderation. Similarly, mirroring the other person's gestures and movements subtly can create a sense of connection and rapport. This subconscious technique helps establish a level of trust and makes the conversation feel more synchronized. Another aspect of body language to be mindful of is proximity and personal space. Different cultures and individuals have varying comfort levels when it comes to how close they stand or sit during a conversation. Being too close to someone can make them feel uncomfortable, while standing too far away can create a sense of detachment. Observing the other person's comfort level and adjusting accordingly is key to maintaining a good balance. If the person leans in while speaking, it might be a sign that they are engaged, and you can do the same to match their energy. However, if they step back or seem uneasy, giving them more space can make the conversation feel more comfortable. Touch, when used appropriately, can also be a powerful nonverbal tool in communication. A light pat on the shoulder, a handshake, or a friendly tap on the arm can reinforce positive interactions and build trust. However, it is crucial to be aware of the context and the comfort level of the other person. Some people may not feel comfortable with physical touch in conversation, so it is important to read their body language and respond accordingly. Breathing and overall movement are additional subtle yet impactful aspects of body language. If you appear too stiff or rigid, it can make you seem tense or uneasy. Taking deep breaths, relaxing your shoulders, and allowing your movements to flow naturally can create a more confident and approachable presence. Pausing before responding rather than rushing to speak also adds to a sense of calmness and attentiveness. Being mindful of body language is not just about controlling your own nonverbal cues, but also about being observant of others. Paying attention to the body language of the person you are speaking with can give you valuable insights into their feelings and reactions. If they seem engaged and open, you can continue the conversation with confidence. However, if they appear distracted, uncomfortable, or uninterested, adjusting your approach, such as asking a question to re-engage them or shifting the topic, can help keep the conversation flowing smoothly. Ultimately, body language is a powerful tool that can significantly enhance your ability to communicate effectively. When you are mindful of your gestures, expressions, posture, and eye contact, you create an environment where others feel comfortable and heard. Small adjustments can make a big difference in making conversations more meaningful, engaging, and enjoyable for both you and the people you interact with. Practicing empathy is one of the most powerful ways to improve your conversation skills and build stronger relationships with others. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It goes beyond simply hearing words. It requires truly grasping the emotions, perspectives, and experiences of the person you are speaking with. When you practice empathy in conversations, you make people feel heard, valued, and understood, which fosters deeper connections and more meaningful interactions. One of the first steps in practicing empathy is being an active listener. Many people listen to respond rather than to understand. Instead of thinking about what you will say next, focus entirely on what the other person is expressing. Pay attention to their words, tone of voice, and body language. Sometimes emotions are communicated more through how something is said rather than the actual words used. If someone says, "I'm fine," but their voice sounds strained or their posture seems tense, there may be more behind their words. Observing these subtle cues allows you to respond with care and understanding. Another important aspect of empathy is validating the other person's feelings. Often people want to be reassured that their emotions are normal and justified. Instead of dismissing their feelings or trying to immediately offer solutions, acknowledge what they are experiencing. Simple statements like, "That sounds really difficult," or "I can see why you feel that way," show that you respect their emotions. Even if you do not fully relate to their situation, you can still express understanding by saying something like, "I can imagine how frustrating that must be." These small affirmations help people feel supported and less alone in their struggles. Asking thoughtful questions is another way to show empathy in conversations. Instead of assuming you know how someone feels, ask them to share more about their experience. Questions like, "How did that make you feel?" or "What was the most challenging part for you?" encourage them to open up and express their emotions in more depth. This shows that you genuinely care about their perspective and are not just making assumptions. Avoid interrupting or shifting the focus to yourself too quickly. Let them have the space to share their thoughts before responding. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is a fundamental part of empathy. Try to imagine what it would be like to experience what they are going through. If a friend is struggling with a tough decision, instead of saying, "You'll figure it out," think about how they might be feeling and say, "I can understand how tough this must be for you. What's been the hardest part of making this choice?" This small shift in perspective makes a big difference in how the other person perceives your support. Being patient and non-judgmental is also crucial when practicing empathy. Everyone has different experiences, struggles, and ways of dealing with situations. Even if you do not agree with someone's choices or viewpoints, it is important to respect their emotions and avoid making them feel judged. Sometimes, all a person needs is someone to listen without criticism. If a friend expresses regret about a decision, instead of saying, "I told you so," try saying, "I can see why you're feeling that way. What do you think you'll do next?" This keeps the conversation supportive rather than discouraging. Empathy also requires emotional awareness, both of others and yourself. Being aware of your own emotions helps you respond in a way that is thoughtful rather than reactive. If someone shares a difficult experience, avoid immediately shifting the focus to your own problems. While sharing your own stories can sometimes help build connection, be mindful of when it is appropriate. If a friend is expressing sadness about losing a loved one, for example, jumping in with a personal story about your own loss may unintentionally take attention away from their pain. Instead, let them have the space to share and respond in a way that keeps the focus on their emotions. Empathy extends beyond just difficult conversations. It is also important in positive interactions. When someone shares good news, celebrate with them sincerely. If a colleague gets a promotion, instead of a simple congrats, show genuine happiness by asking, "That's amazing. What are you most excited about in your new role?" Recognizing and sharing in others' joy strengthens relationships just as much as supporting them in tough times. Practicing empathy takes time and effort, but it is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. When you make the effort to truly understand and connect with others on an emotional level, conversations become more meaningful, relationships grow stronger, and people feel more comfortable opening up to you. Over time, empathy becomes second nature, making you not only a better communicator, but also a more compassionate and understanding person in all areas of life. Keeping a conversation balanced is essential for ensuring that both participants feel valued, engaged, and heard. A conversation should be a two-way exchange where each person has the opportunity to speak, share their thoughts, and respond. When one person dominates the conversation or conversely remains too passive, the interaction can become unfulfilling and frustrating. Striking the right balance helps create a natural and enjoyable flow, making conversations more meaningful and productive. One of the first steps to maintaining balance in a conversation is being mindful of how much you are talking versus how much you are listening. Some people naturally tend to talk more, while others may be more reserved. If you find yourself talking too much, make a conscious effort to pause and give the other person a chance to contribute. Asking them a question or inviting their perspective can encourage them to share their thoughts. For example, if you have been discussing your experiences for a while, you could say, "But enough about me, what's your experience with this?" This simple shift signals that you value their input and want to hear their thoughts as well. On the other hand, if you tend to be more reserved in conversations, it's important to challenge yourself to contribute more. While it may feel comfortable to let the other person lead the discussion, a truly balanced conversation requires participation from both sides. Finding moments to share your own opinions, experiences, and reactions will help create a more dynamic exchange. Even small responses such as "That reminds me of something similar that happened to me," or "I totally see what you mean, here's what I think about that," help keep the conversation engaging and ensure that it does not become too one-sided. Asking and answering questions thoughtfully is another key strategy for maintaining balance in a conversation. A good conversation is like a tennis match. Both participants should take turns serving and returning, rather than one person constantly hitting the ball while the other just watches. If someone asks you a question, try to answer in a way that invites further discussion rather than shutting it down with a short response. Instead of simply saying yes or no, elaborate on your answer and provide details that could lead to another question or comment. For example, if someone asks, "Did you have a good weekend?" Instead of just saying, "Yes, it was nice," you could say, "Yes, I did. I went on a hike with some friends and the weather was perfect. Have you ever been to that trail before?" By adding details and turning the question back to them, you keep the exchange flowing naturally. At the same time, being aware of how many questions you ask is important. While asking questions is a great way to keep a conversation going, too many questions in a row can make the other person feel like they are being interrogated rather than having a natural discussion. Instead of firing off one question after another, allow the conversation to flow by responding with your own thoughts and experiences as well. If you ask someone, "How was your weekend?" and they share their story, instead of immediately asking another question, you could respond by relating it to your own experience. "That sounds like a great time. I love going on hikes too. There's something about being in nature that's so refreshing." This keeps the conversation from feeling like a one-sided interview and allows it to develop more organically. Being mindful of interruptions is another crucial part of maintaining balance in a conversation. Interrupting can make the other person feel like their thoughts are not important or that they are not being fully heard. While it is natural to get excited and want to jump in, it is important to allow the other person to finish their point before responding. If you do accidentally interrupt, acknowledging it with a quick "Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, go ahead," can show that you respect their voice in the conversation. Similarly, giving verbal and nonverbal cues that show you are engaged can encourage balance in a conversation. Nodding, maintaining eye contact, and reacting appropriately to what is being said all signal that you are actively listening. Small verbal affirmations like "That's interesting, I see what you mean," or "That makes sense," can also help the speaker feel encouraged to continue sharing. When both participants feel heard and valued, the conversation naturally becomes more balanced and enjoyable for both parties. Another way to keep a conversation balanced is by being aware of the energy level of the discussion. If one person is highly enthusiastic and animated while the other is more reserved, it can create a disconnect. Matching the other person's energy level to some degree can help create a more comfortable and engaging interaction. If they are speaking passionately about something they love, showing equal enthusiasm in your responses can make them feel supported and excited to continue the conversation. On the other hand, if they are speaking about something serious or personal, responding in a more thoughtful and measured tone can show respect for the mood of the discussion. It is also important to recognize when a conversation has naturally run its course. Sometimes people try to force a conversation to continue even when there is nothing left to say. Knowing when to wrap up or shift to a new topic helps keep the interaction enjoyable rather than exhausting. If there is a natural pause, instead of awkwardly trying to fill the silence, you can transition by saying something like, "That was really interesting to hear about, by the way, I wanted to ask you about." This keeps the conversation flowing while avoiding unnecessary repetition or forced discussion. Keeping a conversation balanced is ultimately about being aware of both yourself and the other person. By actively listening, giving space for others to share, asking thoughtful questions, responding meaningfully, and being mindful of the natural flow, you can create conversations that feel engaging and fulfilling for both sides. When both participants contribute equally and feel valued, the interaction becomes more rewarding, leading to stronger relationships and more enjoyable discussions.